your post.
Oh, did you post on Facebook? Fuck.
Okay,
Sure.
you can do the introduction, dude.
Are we live? Hey everybody, welcome to episode 6 of Eco Point Cape Town, your one-stop shop for all local Overwatch action and information. This week we've got a pretty cool episode, pretty excited. I'm excited. We're going to be looking to the COWSA Awards result. We'll talk about all the players making waves in the scene, the best players, the best casters, and my favorite teams. And I'm joined as usual by my regular co-host, Mr. GeneralSound.
Yo, how's it going, everyone?
Joined as well by my other usual co-host, Mr. Gastlee. Welcome.
Hey guys.
And our special guest today is one Goliath Gaming LagBeast. Welcome.
Yo. Thanks for having me, man.
So I think as we usually start, we'll start with LagBeast, a man with a storied history in South African esports. I think it's fair to say. You've been around since the beginning of time, maybe? Thereabouts? In South African esports?
Yes, I hire you as my heart man. Really. Yeah, I've been part of the esports scene since like 2005. I've been playing in competitive games.
Awesome, and you've obviously haven't been Overwatch that long. You've been working mostly with CSGO, I believe.
Yeah. I'm mostly from the CS background. Played a bit of CS Source competitively, and then moved over to like adminning comps and running things behind the scenes for CSGO.
Awesome. So what made you decide to switch to Overwatch, and how was that transition coming from CSGO to Overwatch in terms of community and also in terms of gameplay?
Sure. Basically, yeah, like one day just decided that I wanted to try Overwatch. Ended up playing a bit of competitive and quick play and everything, and quickly realized like I actually really enjoy playing the game. And at that point I had not played a competitive title for probably 4 years or 3 years. I was mostly running damage control and then like doing stuff in the background for CS. So I was feeling like that hunger for competition doesn't ever really go away, so I decided to start playing competitive Overwatch. And in terms of the community, I mean, I've always been part of the CS community. So for me, most of my friends actually are made through CS and playing online and stuff. So I always feel like I'm part of that community, and like coming over to the Overwatch community and having that same feeling, because a lot of my good friends are also playing. Dude, it's many good feels all over.
So from your experience, like, what draws you more to the Overwatch community, or what's the difference between the CSGO and Overwatch community?
I think because Overwatch is such a new title and it's only just really starting out in the world, not even just South Africa. Like I feel like I need to be part of it, helping to grow it as well as playing. I mean, it's such an awesome game. How can you not want to?
Yeah, 100%.
You're preaching to the choir here, that's for damn sure. You mentioned briefly your work with DDC. Why don't you tell us?
You mean damage control?
That's what I said, yeah.
You said DDC.
You misheard. There's evidence. There's video evidence. Nobody reviewed it, but just know there's video
hand
evidence.
movements going on. Yeah.
Sorry, you've obviously worked quite closely with DC.
Yeah, man. So I began actually playing Battlefield 3 competitively for them, and then ended up, like suggesting that we add on more teams, because obviously most of the Battlefield team was actually the CS players, the DC CS players. And yeah, I suggested maybe we start an MGO, multi-gaming organization, and we ended up getting the Battlefield team part of everything, and then we ended up expanding into Dota, or at least trying to. That scene is quite intense. I'm not even gonna lie to you.
But how does it compare? How does Dota, just to take a bit of a sidestep here, how does Dota compare to CS:GO, for example?
There's no way to actually say this without sounding like an ass, but
Okay, I see.
their community is very much part of internet culture. Like they're very deep into memeing, and like there's a level of maturity that's lacking, both on the competitive side. There are a number of really good teams that are at least trying to set a good example and keep the community going and thriving. But yeah, I feel like the Overwatch community is by far more friendly and mature, and obviously there's exceptions everywhere, but yeah, I just feel the Overwatch community just feels better.
That probably has
Okay.
a lot to do with the community management. I think a
Yeah,
lot can be said about them.
So
No, it's
subtle.
true.
So
It's
subtle.
true. There
Subtle.
was a time where there was, like almost community oversight, but then a lot of key figures and role models and stuff actually moved out of Dota, and it was sort of left in limbo for a while before, eventually now, like it's been a long time, but it's starting to pick back up again now.
And Dota, obviously quite a high-profile game, CS:GO as well, in terms of global esports. More so, I would say, historically than Overwatch, which is obviously in its infancy. So that kind of
Yeah.
affects how those communities come together and how they build up.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like there's a level of entitlement, that because the players are now accustomed to a certain level of prize pool and a certain, all these aspects because of the title being so big in South Africa, that, the newer generation seem to not, know what the older generation had to go through to get to this point. So there's no appreciation. Well, I won't say no appreciation, but there's much less appreciation for, the state of competitions and stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. So I think before we move on to the results of the award voting, you are, of course, Goliath Gaming, LagBeast, but you work quite in depth with damage control. What's it like playing for one MGO while managing another?
Well, at the moment, it's not too bad. We had an unfortunate accident happen in February and earlier this year in damage control, where we lost a very close teammate. And since then, things have sort of been put on ice while everyone takes some time and, figures out what they, how they want to proceed with everything. So with that, I've been able to obviously put a lot more time into actually playing and, sort of trying to up the level that we are currently sitting at. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for the information. I think that was quite informative, especially hearing about the other scenes that we don't get much exposure to. I don't know if Gastlee or Jen get any exposure to the Counter-Strike and Dota scenes. But
Dipped my toe once. It's not worth it.
Yeah, I never
Not
really got
worth it.
into CS:GO that much. I played Counter-Strike in 1.6, but that was ages just casually. But yeah,
Everyone played 1.6, bro.
Yeah.
and Source as well, yeah.
Yeah.
And I've got
huge
I've
into
got-
Source.
I've got thousands of hours in Dota 2 as well. But,
Yeah, same.
never did anything competitive there. So it's interesting to hear what other scenes are going on.
Yeah, look, barring everything I've said, those scenes are still growing at a phenomenal rate. Like the competitions we saw last year, the ones we've seen so far this year, Rush, like the Valkyrie stuff. I think there's a bright future.
for all esports,
Yeah, man.
including ours,
Mhm.
Oh, for especially Overwatch.
Yeah, but we won't go into any details on that just this moment. So yeah, thanks for the input. Interesting hearing your experiences from such an old head in the scene. But I think we'll move on now to the COWSA Awards, which I'm sure is why many of you are here. You want to see your name up in lights. So just to fill you in, basically, our goal with these awards is just to highlight some of the top players, teams, most improved players from the league. You know, recognize these guys that sometimes might not get recognized, might get lost in the shuffle a little bit, and just put their name out there, and you know, talk a little bit about them. Maybe see some new names we weren't expecting, or some old names that we were expecting, and we're really excited to see and to share with you guys the results of this. Obviously, it's no prizes or anything like that. We're just a poor, impoverished little community group. But yeah, we can jump straight into it. So we'll start at the top, as is customary, with the MVP. And these are the captain's nominations. So how these works is I message the captains and they give me the person they think performed best throughout this particular leg in their division. So for example, I messaged LagBeast and he gave me a name of the person who thought performed best. And we took all of the names that were given and we put them and you guys voted on those guys. The only rule is that you can't vote for a player who's on your team. So, for example, Lazarus is one of the 3 players up there. And obviously, LagBeast, you wouldn't have been able to suggest him as your MVP.
Yeah, I suggested Sponge.
Exactly. And you see, we only have 3 names there. That means in 8 teams, there was a consensus that 3 single players were between the 8 captains. They felt that 3 players were worthy of the MVP, which was quite interesting. You know, you could easily get 8 different players, but
Yeah.
these are the consensus picks. So the results are quite interesting, actually, and reflective in a way of the captain's nominations. The Sponge, which as Lagby said, he put forward along with I think 3 or 4 other captains also put Sponge forward, and he ended up taking 50% of the votes in at the top spot. They're really impressive from Sponge, and I think indicative also of unidentified improvements from last leg.
I think Unidentified sort of just exploded
Mhm.
this leg and blew everybody away. They came out with such a, you know, with a bit of a new roster, you know, as I cannot stop mentioning, you know, older heads in their team, guys who are probably implementing a bit more structure, and they just showed us such an amazing
Yep.
side of them that I think we only got sort of peaks at in previous legs.
And we interviewed Sponge at the beginning of the leg, and he told us straight, like, look here, they're gonna
Squishy.
was it Squishy?
Yeah, we did
No, it's Squishy.
Squishy.
Squishy was Squishy. My bad. Squishy at the beginning of the leg, and he said they're gonna focus more on their team play and focus and play to their strengths, not the solo carry mentality most of them had. And you can see they're like playing so well as a 6 whole leg, and yeah, it's not a surprise in my opinion.
100%. Agnes, any input on Sponge at the top? Obviously, you put his name forward as well as many others.
Yeah, man. Having played, obviously, you know, Prem for quite some time now against all the teams, like, mostly everyone sitting in Prem, you know, you sort of know what to expect, you know what you're going into when you know about to play the opposite team. But with Unidentified, the dramatic like shift in skill since even the start of the year to now, I mean, it's awesome. It's fantastic to see, you know, some other teams now rising to beat some of the other top teams. And, you know, Sponge especially, in my opinion, has been putting in a lot of time and is definitely set the bar for the rest of his team. And yeah, he's making it very challenging to go up against Unidentified.
100%. And just to clarify, Sponge is of course the DPS. He's been playing a ton of Hanzo,
Hanzo Fara, I think
Hanzo
as well.
Thora. Yeah, those kind of heroes. Really high impact heroes and really a cornerstone of unidentified successes this leg. In second place, I was talking about old hats earlier, and I think this is probably the most well-known player in terms of reputation in South African Overwatch. You guys disagree? Agree? And that's Energies 20.
I disagree.
Okay.
I personally, I think Centicore has always been, for longer, the top guy.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
you know,
the
when
way-
sorry, you can go, John.
Yeah, no, I'm saying Y20 is, for me, has been really phenomenal because he got like a look alongside him to like get that pressure off him. And you could see it in like a lot of the VODs, and when we played against him as well, you could see he just has so much more space. Where the previous leg they were playing this big comp, and I've heard on the weekly show where Achura was saying that it didn't really suit him because it was a situation where they had to be more like 20 couldn't get that space that he needed, and with Luke joining the ranks, it was way more easier for 20 to go on that flank routes and do what he does well on McCree. And yeah, that's for me, like we've seen the best out of 20 so far this season, this leg.
It gave an additional sort of avenue for Eden to sort of explode with, in the same way that when Squishy and Sponge both play DPS, either one of them can pop off and just provide that outlet or that relief.
Yeah.
And when you're playing that brig comp, you kind of rely on that one player to make all the moves. And that's who 20 was for a while. But Luke coming into the team, as you said, takes a bit of pressure off, but also lets him play freely because it's not entirely on his shoulders this time with regards to sort of the kills or the initiation picks.
You LagBeast, Goliath Gaming, early in the leg, had a 3-2 really close match. Unfortunately, it wasn't casted. Match against Eden. So how did you? And ultimately, that ended up being the only real challenge they faced throughout the leg. You were hyping up the game in Unidentified in Eden at the end on that last Sunday, but it ended up just being a kind of clean sweep. So tell us what did you do to put up such a strong performance?
We started off very weak on capture the point maps this season. So EN basically ran over us on the control points. I think only on Lijiang did we lose 2-1, but the other Koth maps we played Nepal, I think, and I can't remember what the last one was, but Oasis, yes, that's correct. We just got walked over. I think they were both 2-0s. But on the payload maps, we actually managed to do really, really well. We held them back quite efficiently, but because we were weak on the control points, we ended up losing 3-2.
Eden have always really been good on control points. I don't know exactly what it is, but they always seem to have the shit together on control points. Like every time I've played against them, we kind of, whichever team I was in, we kind of right off that control point. And I don't know, they've just always pumped out solid performances on control maps. And I think you kind of have to fault the captains a little bit in the map picking. I think what people need to understand is that aside from the forced map previous leg, you need to actually ban the control points instead of maps that you don't necessarily like, and maybe sort of cut their feet out a little bit, even the playing field to a map that maybe both of you aren't good at.
I half agree, because there's so many maps in the map pool that often you can't always get the outcome you want, because the other team might ban maps that you particularly want to play or are strong on. So I think it comes down to you're forced to pick maps sometimes just like, oh well, I think we're a little better on that one than we are on that one, and you end up, invariably getting like a control point where, instead of like a Volskaya or a Drawskaya Industries.
Yeah,
And ultimately, it's about sometimes you just got to back yourself. If you're going into a game against Eden saying, "Can't, we're not better than them," you're probably going to lose.
yeah.
So
But
if
get
you
rid
if
of
you
control
sometimes
points and things, sure.
if you think I know GG Lijiang especially is one of your stronger maps, so I'm sure you aim for that quite often. And sometimes you just got to say, I think we can beat them on this map. This is our map. As much as it is about playing against what your opponent is doing, it's also about playing to your own strengths. So there's a balance there that you need to hit, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with Gastlee, like in terms of having an idea of what maps you want to walk away with at the end. Obviously you're going to want to pick the ones you're strongest on. Wish it was always, the case that you get the ones that you want. But yeah, such is life.
Sometimes you are just forced into an uncomfortable position.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that brings us on to our final, third, last but not least by any means, and that's Goliath Gaming's own Lazarus. Jen, why don't you start with us? What do you
I think
tell us a little about Lazarus? How do you think he's been playing?
Lazarus is such a good DPS, and he's strong on Widow. His Hanzo has also been insane.
McCree, Sparrow.
Yeah, he can flex onto a lot of. I've seen him on Doomfist. He played Doomfist against us, and it was quite scary.
Yeah.
And he's quite confident. I watched some streams of him where he's playing Doomfist, where he just goes in and don't care, in old proper Doomfist fashion. You know what I mean? And yeah, he has a lot of confidence, which I like to see from DPS players coming up, and that's what it takes. Like, just no fear going in and getting the picks for the team. And I'm sure Lag can add a way more in-depth discussion of how good he is.
Can I let you guys in on a little secret?
Go for it, dude.
Sure.
He hates Hanzo. He hates playing Hanzo. He's so good at it, but he absolutely despises the hero. So we'll end up putting, someone else onto Hanzo now and let him just have free reign with whatever DPS. Because no matter what he picks, he's going to do the job he needs to.
Yep.
100%. It's always nice to have a player like that. You can just be like, just do it. Just do something. And he'll do something.
Yeah.
And win you the game.
Whether it's Sombra, Doomfist, you name it, he'll play it really well. But ask him to be Hanzo, he's going to be a very sad person.
Winning games, clicking heads, but frowning the whole time.
It's nice because we have a couple of guys like that in South Africa. You got Sponge and Squishy, you got Lazarus, you got Leica Luke. Just those sort of DPS that can flex onto absolutely anything and perform.
And they all play the same, like, overbearing confidence style, where they're like,
Yes.
I'm just gonna style on you.
But
No matter who you are, I'm
young.
gonna play better. I was just about to say that's the one thing they all have in common.
They're not in their heads as much as the old guys are.
Must be nice to play without responsibilities.
And rent.
Exactly. So that wraps up the captain's nominations for Premier Division. Let's move on now to the captain's nominations for MVP for First Division, and this is where things get a little bit more interesting. 5 players here picked by the various captains, and there are actually only 6 eligible captains because there were 2 forfeits. So here you can see the opposite end of that coin. And in first position, like with a really amazing sweep, but almost 50% of the votes, is OG's Mito 9. Obviously, he's a DPS player for them.
I don't think Lag and don't know too much about
He
him.
was their main tank.
No.
No, Mutant is their main tank.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
they're a team that flexes a lot. Sometimes you can't always tell who's going to be playing what, but a constant is Mito on that
The
DPS role.
Yeah.
And
McCree is
he
a
loves
very
that
strong
Hanzo,
McCree.
Loves that McCree.
Yeah. And
But,
he got really good aim. Like, I remember when 2 legs ago when I was on Prodigy, I was playing Trace against his McCree, and it was scary, dude. His aim is god tier. He's like, I think he's sitting around 3.2, 3.3 on McCree.
Mm.
And yeah, like he knows how to bait out the Tracer's blink, flash, headshot. And yeah, he's somebody you try to avoid, especially if you're playing a flanking hero. So especially if he's on the McCree. And I know he likes to play Bastion. I know in the Discord it's called
Yeah.
it's called Bastion main. So yeah, he's really good with those hit scan heroes, and I think it's well deserved. He worked hard to be where he is now.
Mm. Definitely a strong point of dominance and also first division in general. And that's showing in the votes. And in second place, from one of our newer teams, Extreme Vision Gaming. That's what XVG stands for, I believe. And that's Blur, the captain of XVG, receiving 29% of the votes. Anyone have anything to say about Blur?
Blur is, I know he's a main tank. I've seen a couple of
Okay.
VODs. He's very aggressive, Reinhardt. He initiates most of the team fights for them. And I think he's the captain as well, so
Yeah, he's kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. And
You always want your main tank calling the shots
Right.
sometimes.
yeah.
Mm.
And when
Yeah,
I've
we've discovered that. Yeah.
when I've watched VODs, you could see he dictates the way the team plays, like the aggression
That's
they
awesome.
give, and if he's playing a bit passive, then you see they're all holding back. So you can see he's quite a strong shot caller for the team as well. So yeah, that's about it. I know I haven't played against him, and yeah, I think we'll get some experience against him this league, Sun.
Yes, I agree. I think XVG, if you look at who's been nominated, two of XVG's players were nominated by the captains. So clearly, even in their first leg, they're making a big impact. Not unlike Chronic Underdogs as the previous leg.
Oh, were they in
So-
ladder?
I believe they were in ladder.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in later, yeah.
Okay.
Then in third place is XVG's Dobvius. Now, Dobvius is someone we've spoken about before in
Yeah.
casts and I believe in EcoPoint as well,
Yeah.
as a prodigious Pharah.
Yeah.
A lot of after games, you see people going, geez, Dobvius, scary Pharah, that kind of thing. Really, really a standout hero of his. So, not surprised to see him getting a lot of love here with what is this? 8 plus 6, 15-ish%.
Yeah, he's a very good spotter, and like with Blur's aggression and him just raining the skies, I think them two would make a strong carry for the team. So you could see like when Blur's going in, you can see just obviously just supporting him, giving him that extra damage that he needs, and whooping targets away from Blur if he's in danger. He's a very good spotter, 100%.
I'm excited to play against him next league.
Yeah.
See if the rumors are true. So the last player who I think we'll just mention briefly was Project Allflex Senshi. And Jen, you and I played COWSA one of the games
Yeah.
quite recently, and he was a stand-up performer. Played a lot of Soldier, he
Sure.
flexed onto Pharaoh
Pharaoh,
along with
yeah.
Aquatic. Quite an impressive player.
Yeah.
If a bit unfocused.
Is
Yeah.
this not his second nomination? Was he
What do
not
you mean?
nominated last year for First Division, captain's nomination?
No, he wasn't. I don't. No, you wasn't. He wasn't. Yeah.
No, last year he was coach for XTC, wasn't he?
No, not
No.
last year. Last awards.
Last
sorry.
awards.
Oh, fair.
No, he was
I
since he wasn't nominated. I think it was. I can't remember exactly who. I think it was obviously myself.
Obviously,
Fakey.
yeah. Obviously.
Casual, obvious.
Sorry, I shouldn't start with me first, but I know. Ericsson was one of them. Fakey was one of them. So a lot of prodigy guys.
It was
It was
physics
almost-
and the
Physics
whole
as
lot.
well.
Yeah,
yeah.
it was a lot of the prodigy players. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. So that takes us to the captain's nominations for First Division. Well done to Mito. Pretty much a clean sweep there. He's clearly impressed a lot of the faces in First Division. And that brings us on to our community MVPs. So these are players from each division. Any players. Doesn't have to be captain's nominations. It can be any player who played. You can vote for yourself. You can do whatever you like here. And clearly people did. Um,
GeneralSound.
And yeah, it's a
Damn
little
it!
bit more
Don't
fun
mention me.
than the
Please don't
captain's
mention
vote.
me.
So
Please. I
we
don't know
mentioned
how.
briefly. Obviously, General was up for captain's vote last season. This season, he's not up for captain's vote. So instead, he thought he'd just get the community MVP vote instead. So, GeneralSound.
I have no comment. I don't know how. Like how I got it. Maybe you can express that, son. But yeah, thanks anyway for everybody voting for me.
Yeah, I think he's pulling some strings in the background here. But anyways, that said, it is extremely close between GeneralSound at 6 votes, and next in line was Raft with 5 votes and Centaur with 5 votes.
20 as 6.
20 has 6, but
yeah.
20 is not eligible because he's already a captain's
Oh,
nomination.
sorry. Not voting.
No, I think it's
And
eligible.
Sponge as well is also not
Yeah.
eligible. So
And
Centaur and
Luca.
Raft were on 5 each as well.
Yeah.
Luca's 5 as well.
So
if you look at all the
Yeah.
millions of ways
Yeah.
people spelt it.
Yeah. That's his fault for
Yeah.
having a name that has like apostrophes and
I mean,
crazy complicated.
it doesn't. I think in BattleNet it's like an N and then Luke, or it's an A. I don't know. It's uppercase.
Well, there you've just highlighted you've highlighted the issue.
Chat is asking Raft question mark.
Raft, as you guys voted, it's
Yeah.
not anybody else's fault. It's your fault. Raft 5 votes, Centacle 5 votes, and Luke 5 votes as well. So Jen just managing to pip them out, I think. Well played. And then Centacle, you guys mentioned earlier, another old hat, Eden guy, strong player. Every leg he gets a lot of love. Whether it was, I think he topped the captain's nominations last season, last leg, sorry. But really well-known player, scary May, scary Zarya. Yeah. Don't enjoy playing against him. Let's put it that way. In the best way possible, I mean.
No, Centigol's always been sort of a force of nature in South Africa, probably outside of South Africa too. I just haven't really encountered him outside of the VS gaming setting or local Overwatch setting. So. But I imagine people dislike playing against him as much as we do.
Yeah, it's the hard part about being good. Then we have Luke as well. Touched briefly on him. Mentioned him again alongside 20. I think 20 perhaps shining a little bit more this leg, but it's not by orders of magnitude. They make space for each other, and that Eden damage core is crazy now. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think Luke had a very, very strong performance this league. I've watched the VOD against Boostios, and his father was insane, dude. Especially on Nepal. He was Nepal. He was literally carrying them, dude, which was quite not a surprise to see. Just haven't seen him in that form in such a long time, and it's exciting to see him on that level again.
100%. A big part of why they've jumped up in performance over leg 2 and leg 1. I would hazard a guess as to say. And then you have Raft, a bit of an outlier here, not a local player. I think it would be disingenuous not to mention though. You guys voted for him. International player, really scary Pharaoh player. Plays a lot of May as well, and just in general, quite a bit of a shot calling structure in Prodigy as well, or am I wrong to say that?
Raft, yeah, he did. He streamed the game against us. And yeah, he does a lot of the shot calling, tells the players what to do, tell the players when to pocket him. So yeah, his experience with other teams really translated into Prodigy's gameplay this league.
An unfortunate situation for Prodigy, having to rely on him a little bit in the sense that they don't have a particularly deep player pool at the moment because of the various kind of things that's happened to them we've discussed before. So utilizing Raft to his fullest potential at the moment. So for the community MVP for First Division, This is very even, and it's
Yeah.
crazy. So I think a couple of ties at the top here. The Bardman, Kazuo, the Perseus player, Mito as well again, but he's not eligible, and Not Groot from Allflex, taking it 6 votes, eh?
Ooh, not Groot.
Yeah,
Four.
4 and then the next
yeah,
2.
I see, yeah, I
6
see.
votes.
So Not Groot actually taking the top there. Captain, or not captain, vice captain of Project Allflex and main tank player?
Yeah,
Or-
and I believe he's a strat caller as well.
Okay.
XVG Lex got 5 votes.
Okay. Awesome. So Not Groot on top. He picks up 6 votes, really making an impact on Project Allflex. You and I, Jen, had big hopes for Allflex. Then
Yeah.
weren't quite able to make it happen.
Yeah, unfortunately, just like by so close. Like at the end of the leg, it was basically a 3-way split, and depending on who wins and loses, and
Yeah.
Perseus managing just to take it on the last game, and yeah, it's unfortunate to see, but Project Allflex is a strong team, and let's see what they can do next leg.
Yeah, 100%. I think
Us-
they're. Yeah, go
I,
for it.
s- I see Ashbro and Sponge being moonlighting in first division. They
Yeah,
can vote
Raft
each,
as well.
Add Raft, dude.
Yeah. Thankfully, only 3 miscreants voting for them.
Ashbro.
Then Lex, I bet you that is Ashbro himself. Let's just blame it on Ashbro.
Yeah.
Just put his name in all the boxes. Favorite team, Ashbro. Favorite casters, Ashbro. Lex said, "Hey, anyone know anything about him?"
Ashbro says, "I'll
XVG
know."
player?
Say again, sir.
What did you say?
Lex said, "Hey, 5 votes, second place." Anyone know anything
I
about
actually
him?
don't know much about him, to be honest. Hopefully, chat can talk a bit about him.
Chat, doesn't rely on chat.
I don't know, dude. I haven't seen so many like
I
for
haven't watched a lot of XPG's games,
Yeah.
but obviously that's a failing on my part, judging by these awards.
He's
So I
popular,
think
very popular.
maybe it's time to take an interest, like a proper interest.
yeah, you're a caster,
think-
dude. You need to look. You need to look at this Division 1 games where sometimes some of these
I'll-
carries are gonna come
I'll
into
go.
Prem, you know.
I need to start spreading my casting love around a little bit more.
Yeah, that's for sure. I think another XVG player, obviously, adding to
Yeah.
now, that's the 3rd one we've mentioned. That team is getting a lot of recognition.
Yeah,
They played really well, just barely missing out, I think.
so chat is
on
clarifying
the-
is a very good tracer and Widowmaker. He's very strong in the scanning
Okay.
department. So
Okay, DPS player. Let's see.
Okay, cool. Well,
So they barely missed out on making Prem. Hey, they
Yeah.
had to win their game against Perseus, I think, to
Yeah.
qualify, and they just were not
And
able
that's-
to do that.
that's really good from a team that's coming out of ladder. So yeah,
Yeah,
and
I
I know they're a team that works very hard as well. On top of it,
100%. Then the Bardman, who I suspect is another XVG player. Kazuo also got
he
4.
plays for Interitus, I think.
Okay.
Could be
Kazuo, and yeah, so those guys tied on 4. Kazuo, as we mentioned, Perseus's Raft, GM, international player. I think he's GM. Maybe I'm putting words in other people's
No,
mouths,
I think he was GM.
Yeah, he
Kazuo.
had season high of 4,000 and something.
I think that was like season 4,
4,030,
season 5. Yeah,
4,008. Yeah.
Okay. Genji player, DPS player in general as well.
yeah.
Very good.
I know he
Very
hasn't
good player.
placed recently though. He's like last season and this season. I'm not sure. Like I haven't played with him in a while, but yeah, he was he was just playing for like scrims and games with Prodigy. Like he hasn't been playing that much ranked, so I don't know his current rank at the moment, but he's still a very good strong player.
Okay, so I think that kind of brings us to the end of the community votes now. And then we come to another interesting one. the most improved players for both divisions. So this is just the players, any player you felt was improved the most from the end of Leg 2 to the end of Leg 3. And for Premier Division, quite a clear winner here in the form of Sponge. And I think echoing our sentiments on Unidentified and Sponge as well.
I think completely deserved if you look at, but I think that most improved player should ideally be most improved team. Not to take anything away from Sponge, but I think Unidentified as a whole really stepped up.
But ultimately,
I
it seems
agree
like
with
people felt that of the 6 main roster players on that team, he's the one that jumped out the most of them.
Oh, definitely.
Yes.
I would put Squishy very close to Sponge in terms of
I agree.
improvement. But yeah, maybe for the next legs community awards, we can include most improved team as well. I
We've
agree.
got huge plans for
cool.
the next community awards.
Yeah.
Sick.
We really do this lazily,
Yeah,
and
last
we
minute
really
stuff.
need to pick our shit up. Yeah, it's like almost always last minute with
Yeah.
minimal input from people. But you know, we find that with these awards, you don't really see the supports and tanks getting too much love.
Yeah.
So we want to try sort of. We can talk about it afterwards.
No,
Yeah.
No, it's
We wanna
fine.
try
We can
and
talk
highlight-
about it now, you know what I mean? It's fun.
Yeah.
This is what
No, I
this
mean
try and
like
highlight
after
some
the
of the-
awards.
Yeah, let's get done with the awards and
Awards,
then.
yeah.
Oh, wait, okay. Then, so that's Sponge. Rexon on 5 votes. Prodigy player, DPS, very strong player, underrated actually, or perhaps not as a result of these votes, but a player perhaps outshone by Raft on paper this leg, or perhaps as people spoke of him, but a really strong Hanzo player, really strong
Genji.
projectile player in
Yeah.
general.
Yeah, he's really good.
I agree. And in their game against us, he did very well. He was harassing our backline a lot. He was getting picks. Definitely a strong player.
Yeah, very scary Hanzo player actually. It jumps out to me like you don't you think he's not that good, or I don't even know why, but he proves you wrong.
Yeah.
Straight up, he'll just kick heads. And
If you put him on the
Punish.
if you put him on the Hanzo, he's like his confidence increased by like 500%. Like it's his favorite hero, and like any other hero, is like he doesn't know what he should do. But maybe Genji's also strong as well. But the moment you put him on Hanzo, he just like the carry potential comes out of him, and he just does what he wants. You know what I mean? And
so, do you think he will struggle in a different meta, or do you think he's got the?
he got the mindset to still like for me he's trying to improve all the time, and if it's out of the meta like Hanzo was for such a long time, he focuses a lot on playing Genji. He's also good at flexing, so he puts a lot of time understanding the game. So overall he's a good player. No matter what meta it comes in, he'll find a hero that will suit him in that meta.
Okay, interesting. And then Lazarus as well, getting a bit of love there as improved player. Lag, you think Lazarus has improved over the
Oh my goodness, yeah, man. He's put in a lot of time. He's one of those guys that will go sit in a custom server and drill things and like practice certain things and then join us for team prac and then just show flames. It's been really cool. Like I think joining GG and having the support from them has really pushed him to improve overall. We've also had a couple shifts within the team, but having Laz on DPS it's quite a solid foundation to work around.
Yeah, he of course was playing off tank for much of leg 1 and the qualifiers, and once Llama left, he moved back into that DPS role, and I think he shines there.
Yeah, definitely, man.
So that's the improved players, Premier Division. Sponge again, taking the knock there. And for First Division, most improved player, I think, with a landslide victory, Aquatic from Project Allflex. Again, Jen, we have good experience of him, and we were very impressed by his performance.
Yeah.
I think even calling him MVP of that match.
Yeah, he was insane. he's one of the players that are so very confident on the video, and he wants to like in his mirror matchup. He always wants to show that mirror matchup that he's the better player in the game at the moment. And yeah, he's just gonna get better like with that attitude. And like I said, if TPS players have that confidence about them, they just end up carrying games because they know what to do basically to enable that type of strength.
Yeah, 100%. Very, very strong, confident player, like you say. I'm excited to see how they do next leg. If they can just clean up a little bit of their mistakes. They beat the top team, what ended up being the top team, OG. They beat them convincingly, in large part due to Aquatic's performance. So excited to see how they can build off the back of that. And then after that, it was pretty much
It's Blur on 4.
yeah. So Blur again, another the XVG captain again popping up. I think that team, like I said, turning heads this leg.
Oh, apologies. It's actually 5. There is a one right at the end, XVG Blur right at the end.
So it's actually a tie. Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's difficult to say how much he's improved because he didn't play last leg. But clearly he's been improving throughout the leg then and making waves, and the team has been benefiting from his play as a result. So yeah, that's all the player stuff done. Well done to all the guys taking top spots. I think standouts are Sponge and
bunch of the XVG guys.
And all the XVG
XVG
guys,
guys,
yeah,
yeah.
that whole team. Keep an eye on that team, guys.
Oh yeah, there are a bunch of honorable mentions as well. Mikelele got some votes.
Yeah, to mention Mikelele.
I was gonna say.
I know you got a soft spot for him,
He's
Gastlee.
so cool. Okay,
So
let's move on.
That brings us on to our casters. Give our casters some love. So we're gonna start off with our favorite play-by-play. Really, there were only 2 options here, and basically we picked if only guys who casted more than 2 games. So I casted 1 game, and like other people casted 1 or 2 games, but I wanted to put eyes on the guys that are really dedicating a lot of their time to this. I think we all can say without a doubt that CloudBurst and Trinic have been the 2 guys spearheading this as far as play-by-play goes and streaming in general.
Yeah,
Spearheading
100%.
the casting, trying to get eyes on our scene, and we are eternally grateful for all the work they put in.
Yeah.
For me, Trinic especially he's improved so much from when he started, and even from the end of the previous leg to the beginning of this leg, just putting in the work, putting in the hours. His hype is incredible as well. We always called CloudBurst the big hype man, but now Trinic is right there by his side,
Yeah,
putting up fists.
I can only speak from sort of what I've seen from him. I've never casted with him, so I'll have more to say on CloudBurst. But Trinic has been making absolute waves in the community.
Yeah.
He's so exciting. It's so exciting to watch him cast a game because he just sort of he brings out excitement, and he also casts a lot of the first division games.
Yeah.
And he is really sort of spreading that casting love around, where some
So
of the
cool.
It's also
other casters are more.
it's also a testament to
Not
what he
doing
does in the
that.
background as well, man. Sorry, guys. It's
No
like
problems, dude.
he's so involved in like the community. He's doing write-up articles on like behind the scenes
Yeah.
with esports, not only Overwatch. So it's just that love that he has for esports is like translating in the way he casts. So that's really good to see, to have a figure that's actually so dedicated to push the scene. And we must be very fortunate to have him on the Overwatch.
Let me tell you, from being in other communities, our casting ethos and the people who are putting in the work, it's far beyond what other communities are at. Like, yeah, CS has good casters and, you know, they've been around for a while, but considering Overwatch has only been here for what, almost 2 years?
2 years.
Just over 2
Just
years.
over 2 years, yeah. Like, it's insane. It's insane to see it. And yeah, big shout outs to all you guys casting, and especially covering the lower tier games. No, very few other communities are actively trying to help their first division and second and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
massive props, X.
And Trinot's been a big proponent of that, like Jen said. And ultimately, the community showing both of our play-by-play casters a ton of love. In fact, separated only
close.
by 1 vote.
Fudge, that's close.
So CloudBurst on paper is our favorite caster, but I think it's no competition. These two guys are together at the top, 50-50, fighting it out for the title of best play-by-play caster. And you know, we talk about how exciting the leg is because of the teams, but it's also extremely exciting to have these two casters upping their game, trying to be the best that they can be.
Well, let me say, you know, a word or two about CloudBurst. I got a little bit of experience casting with him, and I mean, as I know he is a less experienced Overwatch player, so coming sort of from my position as an analytical caster, whenever I'm casting, and also when we're talking in between sort of casting sessions, CloudBurst is just sort of hungry to learn. He's just, all he wants to know is about the game, how he can get better at casting, how he can understand the game better so that he can cast better. He's got such a drive to improve. And I mean, I think it really reflects it reflects right here in the votes, but it also reflects in his actual casting. You can see that, similar to Trinok, he has a true excitement about what he's doing. You know, he's dedicated and he's working hard to improve, not just for the community, but also so he can be better at it, because you can see he has that genuine interest. Sorry, I'm not good at punctuation. That was my first.
100%. So shout out to those two guys putting in all the work, and it's not going unnoticed. That moves us on to our favorite analyst, and these are the guys that analyze the gameplay between. Okay, sorry, am I boring you? That analyze the games between.
So look at the result.
Yeah. So up for voting was Nori Mizuki, Doname, and some other guy. And that other dude, Mr. Gastlee, he ended up taking it 38%. But again, another really close
Very
voting
close.
thing. In
Yeah,
fact,
super close.
in second and third place, or second and second place, as it turns out, were tied, Naori and Doname on 30%. So again,
Gastlee only winning by
casters
4
are-
votes, literally 4 votes.
Yep, that's all that separates.
So it's
That's
21, 17, 17. Crazy.
Sorry.
so am I gonna let you talk, or are you gonna?
No, continue. Do you want me to talk about the winner? No problem. I have 27 years of talking about this guy.
Oh goodness.
Oh, well done, Gastlee. Clearly, the work you've put in. Obviously, you've picked up a lot of extra time into casting since leaving WRG, and we appreciate that. Casting alongside CloudBurst, and of these, I would say your game knowledge is by far and away, just because of your experience playing on the top team.
Yeah, that and being in Masters and understanding like small micro, like little mechanics in game and how to express it. And I'm sure a lot of teams and players take value into that because that just makes their gameplay better. And no, I'm not saying that the other guys, like I could see like Doname and Narumizuki, they are getting, like you can see they're improving so much, and that's why you can see in these votes this time around. It was so close here. They're putting in the time.
Really cool to see.
And I think that's like, as a analyst, that's like what you should go for. Just try study the game, become a a student of Overwatch. And
Yeah, watch as many high tier games
Yes,
as you
you
can,
can, yeah.
internationally, especially, and then like translated to our scene here in SA. It's awesome.
because only players and teams can get value out of that. End of it,
Yeah.
Big shout out to Donnie especially. He joined us quite recently and is really putting in a ton of work alongside Trinok often. Mayuri as well, working very hard with Trinok, casting as many games as they can. And we really appreciate the work that all
Yeah.
three of you are putting in.
Again, also lots of first division love that they're giving to the teams and
Yeah.
advertising those matches for the teams and stuff.
Yeah. That's
I
something
dig
I
it.
lack
really
all the time. So I think from next leg and in future seasons, I need to actually spread my casting around more.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone can learn from everyone. We're all doing stuff as best we can in relative areas.
Yeah, so that's our casters. Much love to them, and I think we'll move on to our favorite teams. And this is a popularity contest. No
Oh yeah.
doubt about it, and that's exactly what it's supposed to be. It's a
And it
team.
shifts to the underdogs each leg.
Yes,
It does. Yeah, I love it.
and it's just about the team you enjoyed playing against most, watching most, the team you like best, you like the players, the people, whatever it is. You can vote for this team. And the team in Premier Division that ended up coming out tops, I think, not really surprising any of us, is Unidentified.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
They deserve it. They put on a show. I think they deserve that popularity contest, that
Agreed.
beauty pageant win. That
I
TR.
even voted for them.
Yeah.
Yes, same.
Yes. Only the team no lag.
Nah, we don't need popularity. We're just trying to trudge away as best we can.
And then, Eden coming up second, Boostio's right on their tail. Bit of a drop from last leg where Boostio's were
Boosters was taking
50%.
it all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. Boostio's are very popular.
I think half of the votes of that unidentified votes is because of Mikelele.
Yeah, I dig that out.
This guy's scared of him. I think you can see how the votes swing based on how the performance is going. So Unidentified performed amazingly this leg compared to their previous performances, and
So it's
the votes
it's
followed that trend.
it's
Eden
good.
has always been good, so the
Yeah.
votes have always been high for them. They've always been second,
So it's,
and the boosters have experienced a little bit of a drop in performance this legs, and as a result, their
so it's good.
fan base has decreased
Yeah,
a little bit.
So it's good to see that the community values skill over just like fan base. Yeah. So it's awesome to see.
100%. Fourth place, Phoenix Rising. Sad to throw that in there. Then favorite team for first division. You guys just let me
You
hang.
keep, you
Like,
keep,
I worked so hard.
it's
all
like
the summer.
it's like
Yeah,
when you're like
guys
working in
like,
threes and like screw it, I'm gonna do the fourth one.
Yeah,
Just slide it in there quickly.
this is my show. I can talk about whoever I want to talk about.
Support.
And then straight off that, just moving on to first division.
Wow, first division is split. Holy
Yeah.
moly.
Yeah.
First division extremely split, but in first place, indicative of what we've been seeing all throughout this evening's votes, Equinox XVG showing up first place with 27% of the votes. Just me
Yeah.
then.
I can't say too much because, as I said, I haven't really watched them that much. But I mean, based on sort of the voting we've seen this evening and the trend we've seen, that they really are the team to watch in the coming
Leg, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and two special mentions, Project All Flex and OG Ominence tied at 21%
Yeah.
each.
Crazy stuff. Like really, really well played to them. All of the teams getting a big chunk of votes here. Separating 20%, separating the highest from the lowest, not really that much. But ultimately, Equinox coming out tops of this particular popularity contest, and I can understand what that is. Like we've been saying, it's a team that's been putting in a ton of work, been playing really well. Unlucky to miss out on advancing to Prem in their first leg in division. So really impressed by them, and they've clearly impressed their peers as well. And that brings us to the end. Gastlee, you want to chat a little bit about what we're looking to change going forward? Just some ideas?
Well, with regards to the COWSA Awards, I think what's really important is that we sort of spread the love of it, not just to the DPS players in the community, because that's the common trend, from last awards and this awards. You find the guys who are actually just making the explosive pop-off plays, getting most of the votes, which is fair. They deserve them. But I think, you gotta, if I were to pick out a few things, like you look at a guy like Visions, one of my favorite supports to watch, and he's not really appearing on it because the work he does doesn't look as spectacular. Thanks, Love. As a DPS player getting like 4 headshots on Widow, kills.
I think,
but
like from my opinion, maybe we could do like a team, like a dream team type of thing, like what the Overwatch League done, like what is called the all-star team, and
it's a good idea.
Because if we're gonna do like all this, because I saw the splits, it's gonna make a huge document, and I'm not saying that we're lazy. It's just gonna be a huge split vote. So if you can like vote your best team and who do you think it should be the best team, will be cool.
I mean, it's not about us. You don't want to have people trying to sit 25 minutes doing the votes,
Yeah.
But also you want, best support, best DPS, or maybe best off support, best main support.
That's why we were like, with the dream team, you doing that essentially. So yeah, we can have a huge discussion on the Discord about this, but
yeah, of course. But just to give some idea of we are planning on switching things up a bit going forward. And if you guys in the chat have any feedback, you can chat to any of us, myself, Gastlee, Jen, or CloudBurst. We will take into account any ideas you guys give, and we appreciate the feedback.
Basically, we just need more than 5 minutes of effort into the form.
You need more than 5 minutes of effort into the form.
Okay.
Some of us put 6 or more effort minutes in. So.
Okay.
But no, it's good to do these kind of things. I mean, we almost didn't do it. That would have been a real shame, right? I think this is a lot of fun, and it's awesome for players to get an eye on. And to get an eye on other players.
Recognition. Deserve it.
Exactly. So yeah, I think that about wraps it up. Thank you so much for joining, Mr. LagBeast.
Oh, guys, thank you so much for having me. This was actually awesome. Wow.
Yeah.
Had a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely
So
in the
did we.
future, add
Thank
you again,
I think you added a lot of input. And thanks to my co-hosts, Mr. GeneralSound and Gastlee, as usual.
Yeah, just to mention, there is pugs going on now, guys. Whoever's still tuned in, go hit that exclamation mark pugs into the Discord, and hopefully you can see us there, and we can have a little bit more in-depth discussion with everyone.
Yeah, you can flame General for being best player in Prem.
And I just want to say thank you guys for everything you guys are doing.
Yeah.
With the show and helping with the advertising, COWSA games, and just being general bosses.
You're welcome, bro.
Awesome, you're welcome. We try.
Yeah, and that about wraps it up. We hope you'll join us next week, 7 o'clock, Friday, every week. Next week we'll probably talk about the first matches of the league and give some predictions on how we think the leagues are going to go in both divisions. But for now, that's all from us. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks. Cheers, everyone.